Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. So, my title here is that ATL compared to third world countries, HIV epidemic is out of control. So, there's a video playing right here. This is WSB-TV2 Atlanta. And so, apparently, they have like an HIV epidemic that's really, really bad in Atlanta. And so I know some people who are from the South and who have told me that Atlanta's situation has gotten far out of control. And so um, the video is playing, but I'm going to read the article. It says Atlanta Black gay males are contracting HIV in Atlanta in epidemic proportions. And so there's a big, huge problem in the South with the HIV epidemic. And so it's really gotten far out of control. According to the that 1 in 2 Black men would contract the disease. So every 1 in 2 Black males will, if they don't already have it, will contract the disease. So Christian Dawkins is a youth HIV policy advisor with Georgia Equality. He said personally, the spike in the number of HIV cases for gay Black males in Atlanta is not surprising to him because of all of the stigma. And so it goes on to say that it's been spun in such a negative way that HIV is a punishment for your sins, Dawkins has said. So Dawkins cited non-acceptance from religion and family and living a life of hiding a secret as the reason why, despite education and advocacy efforts among gay Black men in Atlanta, numbers are not declining. They're only growing. So when you're hiding something, you're less prone to go out to be more careful, if you will, Dawkins has said. So, and though condoms are freely handed out in some nightlife venues like nightclubs, Dawkins said that for those who hide that area of their life, condoms simply don't come into play. So there's a lot of males who, if they're in the South, because the South is like the Bible Belt and it's about religion and it's about, atoning who they are, they may have, a hidden lifestyle, or they may not reveal themselves, but they may still have a partner that no one knows about, or they may be promiscuous because that desire to be with someone of the same gender is there, but they can't be open about it and honest to family members for fear that they'll lose everything. And so that is one of the reasons why they say the stigma is what causes the epidemic to be something that is really, really out of control, to where they don't see anything helping the numbers go down anytime soon. So even though condoms can protect you from HIV, a contraceptives and used for birth control. So that's another factor in it. So if you have 2 women or 2 men, then they don't make babies unless they adopt. So when you don't factor in the pregnancy, you don't feel the need to use the condom. But the thing with the males seems to be being out of control. So along with condoms, doctors has said that the medical advances like PrEP pill is taken daily. A person can prevent HIV with the PrEP pill. And so this is here in Atlanta, but in California, in Los Angeles, they have AIDS Project Foundation, or AIDS Project LA. And so they do have a place. I've seen regular guys who, if you saw them, you wouldn't think that they were gay at all. You would assume, oh, this is a regular guy. But there's a clinic specializes in these PrEP pills and treating people who already are infected with HIV. And I see a lot of males going into that clinic, and they look like regular guys. And so this is why I've said in previous videos that I'm really afraid, because there are men who, you know, it used to be people you could kind of see by looking at people that they might be, you know, a person that, you know, chooses to be with another male. And a lot of times they won't want to, you know, engage in relationship with a woman, and some people are honest. I don't have a problem with people being honest. What I do have a problem with is when people will hide who they are, and they get on these videos and they talk about gays and talk about how they dislike that lifestyle, but that's what they're living in secret, and they can't be honest, and so they live a phony lifestyle, and they get married, or they get with women, or they bash women simply because they can't be who they are. And I believe that's where a lot of these videos come from, because people are in this category right here that we're seeing. And so it may prevent a person from contracting HIV, but there are a slew of STIs that you don't want. So I think condom usage is still something that should be enforced, doctors have said. So people are urged to get a screen for HIV every 6 months, and if they're sexually active, at least once a year. And so this is a big problem, apparently, in the ATL, is what they refer it to, which is Atlanta. And so it's basically, the video is the person that I'm reading about. He's talking about the same issues that I just read about. And so I look here, and the new Atlanta map reveals the severity of HIV epidemic, which is in the Atlanta Daily World. So it goes on to say that 70% of the people living with diagnosed HIV in 2014 were African American. And according to this CDC and prevention, 1 in 51 Georgians will be diagnosed with HIV in their lifetime. HIV and AIDS rate in certain parts of the city of Atlanta, particularly downtown in the ATL, is really, really, really rampant. So I read this article earlier. And so I also heard that the South has a big problem with AIDS, HIV and AIDS, because of the stigma. It's not helping it when people hide who they are and pretend to be something that they're not, because they'll be more freer to go and get checked out, to go to the doctor, more healthier, trying to keep themselves from getting infected. And it'll cut down on the partners because they don't have to hide their identity and play around behind closed doors. They can be with the one individual, you know, and be free to be with that individual rather than play games with several different individuals. So that's what they're getting at. So 70% of the people living with diagnosed HIV in 2014 were African American. And according to the CDC prevention, 1 in 51 Georgians will be diagnosed with HIV in their lifetime. So HIV and AIDS rate in certain parts of the city of Atlanta, particularly downtown ATL, is as bad as some third world African countries, the CDC reported in 2016. Downtown Atlanta is as bad as Zimbabwe or Haiti or Durban. Those are African countries that have a huge problem with AIDS. So Dr. Carlos Del Rio, co-director of Emory University Center for AIDS Research, said this last year. So the disparate rates for the Black community is staggering. So 8 of the 10 states with the highest rates of the new cases of HIV diagnosed are in the South, the Bible Belt. So last week, AIDS VU is what it's called, launched a new data and maps that visualize HIV's impact in the Atlanta downtown, or Atlanta down to the zip code level. So as one of the cities most impacted by the disease of the U.S., interactive mapping tool illustrating that HIV epidemic across the U.S. is invaluable for public health professionals and community leaders to allocate resources where they are most needed. So each year, On June 27th, AIDS-VU recognizes National HIV Testing Day by raising awareness of the critical role that testing plays in fighting the HIV epidemic. So more than 1 million people, more than 1 million in the US are currently living with HIV, and 1 in 7 people with HIV are unaware of their infection. Widespread HIV testing, early diagnosis, timely linkage to care and treatment, and access to comprehensive HIV prevention services are critical components of the national response to the HIV epidemic. In fact, according to the 2015 study by researchers, the CDC, more than 90% of the new HIV infections in the US could be averted by diagnosing people with HIV and ensuring they receive prompt, ongoing care and treatment. So this is what I've always known, that it's out there. It hasn't gone away. Anything that doesn't have a cure is still out there. And when people refuse to read, refuse to do their homework, refuse to learn about what types of things that they could possibly be either stricken with or encounter, this is what happens. So the New Atlanta map reveals the severity of the HIV epidemic. So it showed it 8 of the 10 states. And so right here, rates of the persons newly diagnosed with HIV in 2015. So it's really sad. And so it's not gotten any better. It's gotten very worse. And so I guess there's a lot of lack of funding, lack of education, and people are just not caring anymore. They're not being safe, and they're being very promiscuous, having lots of more partners, and they don't feel, because there's a medicine to prolong the lives of people, they feel like it's not a danger or a threat anymore, when it's still very much a problem, very much could be a danger if you are walking around not knowing you have it and you're not taking medication for it. And so I did a previous video about the STDs and teenagers and young adults, and the statistics of Black Americans, Black people that have a lack of funding in certain communities and a lack of literature about what's going on, or a lack of knowledge of what's going on. So they go out and they engage in risky behavior. So this is the reason why I've said in previous videos that I'm really scared. And I won't sleep with any, males or anybody for that matter of fact, because there's so much going on in this world. Like I said, it's a new world. There's new things going on, new people doing it, but it's even more dangerous, it seems like, because nobody's really caring anymore. It's like a nonchalant, let's go out, a free for all, let's have sex with whomever and just not be safe and not worry about it. Some people have this I don't care mentality, or, oh, we're going to die of something, and so I'm not for that. I guess I'm old school. I guess I'm one of those old, like an old grandmother or whatever, in terms of my ways. I have an old soul, but I'd rather die of natural causes than to just be ignorant and lack the education to go out and seek this information for myself and learn how to protect myself. I wouldn't want to be somebody that just says, oh, I'll just, I don't give a damn. I'll just let the chips fall where they may, and apparently this is what society we live in. People are thinking like this. They have that mindset that whatever happens, happens. It is what it is type of attitude. So, I just like to say that, here in the West Hollywood area is more like the gay community in Santa Monica, some other parts of, Los Angeles and California. And, you'll see clinics, you'll see, people having parades, meetings, book signings. People are more affluent, they have more money. They're more, it's more accepting because you have white gays. But when it's Black gay people, there's that stigma, and you have to hide, and you have to go behind closed doors. You can't be who you are. Nobody's caring about you and all that kind of stuff. and you feel afraid. You're afraid you're going to get beaten up. You're afraid you're going to lose your family, your friends. And, other people of other cultures probably have experienced that, but it seems like it's more of a weight in the Black community when it comes to gay people, that there's more problems with people just accepting people for who they are. And so this might be the reason why there's such a extreme epidemic, especially in the South, because it's like the Bible Belt and there's this whole stigma around it. And then everybody's supposed to be so religious, which they really, a lot of people don't really practice all of the things that they preach. They're ready to pretty much put each other down and tear each other apart, rather than look at things for what it really is, that, everybody doesn't view the same things alike. They don't have the same ideologies. They don't do the same things. I'd rather somebody be honest and say who they are and have a healthy relationship, rather than hiding behind closed doors and risking having promiscuous relationships because they have that inner desire, and they go out and put themselves at risk. So that's the way I view it. And two, it also, if you're a person that isn't gay and you feel like, I want to at least know who I'm dealing with, when people are honest and say who they are, that's how you know. But if you put all these rules and regulations and stigmas on them, then they can't be who they are. And that's how you get people married to people who they don't want to be really married to. And now he's giving it to his wife. She's now got HIV, which will become AIDS soon, because he didn't tell her that he's really bisexual or he's gay and he's down low. He's not going to tell her because of the stigma. So therefore, now her kids could be at risk. She's at risk. It could be vice versa. But right now they're talking a lot about the males. I guess it's because the way the women's bodies are made up and the males. It's not like women can't catch it, but usually men seem to, when they have engaged in intercourse with other men, for some reason, it seems like they contract it quicker. I don't know what that is. I guess maybe it's just the way, maybe the mechanics of the physicality of the whole thing, and the way people's bodies are made up versus women versus men, whatever. But it's sad that this is happening, and it's all because of the ignorance and the stigmas out there. And if people would read, apparently we've got a culture of people that don't want to read. They feel like reading is boring and it's for squares. I guess I'm a nerdy person then. So 8 of the 10 states with the highest rates of the new HIV diagnosis are in the South. And primarily a lot of people that live in the South are Black. And I've heard a lot of people moved out of the cities because of the high rents had moved to the South. And so you pretty much put yourself in a situation. They say that Africa has a big problem with AIDS. I've heard Black people say, well, I'm so mad about this administration and all these things, and we're just going to go back to Africa. You leave one battleground to go to a new war ground. So you're not really running away from anything. You run into a new fight. That's all it is. So I would say people need to read more. They need to try to at least find the proper tools to combat these issues by, educating themselves on what statistics are out there, especially within their culture groups and backgrounds and neighborhoods or cities, and be more aware. So this is just an extension of what I've done earlier with the other articles. But I think it's a big problem and people are ignoring it. And ignoring it is not going to make it go away. Apparently it hasn't, because it's gotten worse. Like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening.